Hi, I'm Sally Thibault. In this video today, we're going to be talking about the top 4 causes of anxiety for mums raising kids living with autism and what to do about it. Raising children living with autism is probably one of the hardest things you'll ever do, but that comes sometimes at a cost. Now, while we can focus on our children's health and their anxiety and emotional well-being, looking after your anxiety and your well-being has to be a priority. And in my experience, there's 4 reasons why mums or parents raising children living with autism experience anxiety. And I'm going to share with you those 4, plus how to help you overcome it. So let's look at number 1. And I think this goes without saying, it's worry. You know, we worry about our children. We worry about the things we're doing. We worry if we're good enough, if we're doing the right therapies. We worry about whether they're going to have friends. We worry about whether pack their proper lunchbox. We worry about them being uncomfortable if their clothes are uncomfortable. I think ASD mums and worry go hand in hand. But worrying is living in the future. It is not living in the present moment. The best way you can overcome worry is to pull yourself into the present moment and simply ask the question, am I doing the best I can right now? Am I doing the best I can right now? Is my child safe right now? Is my child fed right now? Is my child got a roof over their head right now? When you feel that you're pushing into worry, bring it back and ask yourself the question, am I living in the present moment? Now that leads me into the next thing, which is future thinking. Do you know, worry is often living in the future. And when you're living in the future, you are out of your intuition and you're out of your wisdom. If I can say this, you know, I know for many mums, parents raising children living with autism, we do worry about their future because we're worried if they're not getting the grades, we're worried if they're not keeping up with their peers, are they dropping too far behind in all sorts of issues. But let me share this with you. 20 years ago, my son's job that he's doing right now was not even thought of. Where our children are right now, our high-functioning kids in particular, their career paths have not been invented yet. And for my son, when we were consistently told to get him off video games, he ended up in a career reviewing video games for a living. Wasn't even heard of 20 years ago. And the same will be for your children. So it's important that when you are working with your teachers, your child's teachers, that you're not thinking into the future, but you're just dealing with them right now. And one of the things I learned, and I've mentioned this on previous videos, when I stopped trying to pull David from the front or push him from behind and actually walked with him on his journey, not my expectation of the future, everything changed. Everything changed. And if I could go back to those early days in, junior school, primary school, I would not have worried so much about things that really didn't matter. When that child was ready to read, he was ready to read. When he was ready to write, he was ready to write. When he was ready to do an assignment, he was ready to do an assignment. But if it made no sense to him, he wasn't going to do it. But I was still caught up in the whole future. What if he doesn't graduate? What if he doesn't get there? What if he... And by the time we got to year 10, none of that made any difference at all. The third thing I want to talk about is judgment. This is really, I think judgment and raising children living with autism go hand in hand. I honestly believe that mums raising kids living with autism are the most judged people on the face of the planet because it's often a behavioral issue which you can't see. It's not an overall disability where people can actually see the disability. And because they can't see it, they tend to judge it. And when they're judging your child, sometimes it feels like they're judging you. So whenever you're feeling judged, come back to ask yourself this question: why am I being triggered by this judgment? What is somebody saying that's triggering me to feel judged? Now, in my circumstance, it was often I felt I wasn't good enough. I wasn't doing a good enough job. And so when someone judged me, I'd just go, I would just get cranky or explode, or I just want to go into bed and pull the shit up over my head. But that was my stuff. That was my stuff, because I didn't feel like I was doing a good enough job. And when I realized that, it changed. That judgment didn't bother me anymore. I didn't feel the need to have to prove anybody right or wrong. Because when I stopped distrusting myself, when I began to believe in myself, it made all the difference in the world. And number 4, the last one, is what I call scenarioing. And this was a word that one of my clients made up for me. I thought it was brilliant. It's when you have a belief about something. So you create a story in your head about something, and it can cause you anxiety. Perhaps your child has told you a half story about something that happened at school. And wherever you are on the anxiety scale, you've got a story running about that story. It could be that your child's told you he was pushed by other kids. You might get to the school to find, actually, no, that didn't happen at all. Something else happened. Having worked in the school system for a decade, I always knew there were 3 parts to a story. This person's story, that person's story, and somewhere in the middle lay the truth. But because we're already highly anxious and highly stressed and worried, we can create the story and create this incredible anxiety in your body when in fact it was not needed. I remember once a parent phoning me. She was going to have my child pulled out of school. And I went straight into anxiety. I couldn't sleep. I felt sick. I thought, oh my God, my child's in prep and this woman is going to have him kicked out of school. And what's he done? And who have I raised? And I couldn't sleep. I was so overwhelmed by this. When I got to the school the next morning and met with the assistant principal, he just laughed at me. He said, there's no way we get rid of David. We love him. There's an issue going on with these 2 children and we'll sort it out. But the angst I'd been through that night before, where I just felt sick the whole night, was my anxiety levels, and I was scenarioing it already. So pull back when you're scenarioing. Ask yourself, is this a story I'm telling myself? Do I know this to be absolutely true? And especially when you're dealing with teachers, and you come at it with this abundance mentality, this abundance mindset, this is a story I've heard. What's the story? How can we create a solution? There are much better options for your child, and the outcomes are so much better. And I will leave you with this. When you have an emotion, your child is so sensitive, they can feel that emotion on you. So if you're highly anxious and highly stressed, even though you try and hide it, I'll say, Mummy, you okay? And you go, sure, yes, darling. They can feel it. There's like an energy field around you. So for the good of your child and the good of your health, your physical health, as well as your mental health, keeping your anxieties, I'm going to say acknowledge your anxieties rather than keeping them under wraps, because I don't think there's such a thing. Acknowledging them, figuring out where they can. Am I slipping into worry? Am I slipping into future thinking? Am I slipping into feeling overwhelmed and judged? Am I scenarioing? 4 things to do that can help you overcome your anxiety. And we'll do future videos on a few techniques that you can use. Now, if this has helped, please leave a comment below. I'd love to answer any questions. Share it with someone that you know might be going through some real anxiety at the moment. It might be able to help them. And remember to subscribe and ring the bell and to let you know when our next video is available. I'll see you soon.